First contact. The silver dome of the Lunar Research Station gleamed under Earth's reflected light, its architecture a testament to humanity's relentless push toward the stars. Inside her laboratory, Raina Patel adjusted her neural interface, her dark eyes fixed on the shifting patterns of light dancing across her holoscreen. 6 years of studying xenolinguistics had led to this moment, but nothing in her training had prepared her for the beauty of the Lumini language. The alien communication patterns before her belonged to Thex, the first diplomatic envoy from a species that had evolved in the depths of Europa's oceans. Their entire language consisted of intricate bioluminescent signals, a symphony of light that made human speech seem primitive by comparison. Raina had spent months developing an algorithm to translate these patterns, but today something was different. "Dr. Patel, the ambassador is requesting your presence in the containment chamber," announced Julian, the station's eye assistant. Raina's heart raced as she gathered her equipment. The Lumini's environmental needs meant all interactions took place through specialized chambers filled with pressurized liquid similar to their homeworld's composition. The walk to the containment chamber felt longer than usual. Security Officer Dominic Reed fell into step beside her, his expression characteristically stern. "Remember the protocols," he warned. "No direct contact, no unauthorized communication attempts. We still don't fully understand their capabilities." Raina nodded, though her attention was already focused on the shimmering figure visible through the chamber's curved walls. Thex's form was vaguely humanoid, but composed entirely of translucent tissues that pulsed with internal light. As she approached, patterns of blue and gold rippled across their surface, a formal greeting, she had learned. The patterns suggest urgency, Raina noted, activating her translation matrix. Something's troubling them. Through the translator, Thex's lights resolved into words. "Researcher Patel, we have detected anomalies in your star's output. My people believe these variations are not natural. We have seen such patterns before." Raina leaned closer to the chamber, her reflection overlapping with Thex's shifting forms. "What do you mean, not natural? Are you suggesting someone is interfering with our sun?" The answer came in waves of purple and crimson. "There are others in the void between stars, ancient species who shape stellar bodies to their will. We fled them long ago, seeking refuge in Europa's oceans. Now they have found this system." The implication sent a chill down Raina's spine. She had always believed first contact would change humanity's understanding of the universe, but not like this. Not with a warning of impending doom. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, her fingers trembling as they flew across her interface, ensuring every nuance was captured. "Shouldn't this information go through official channels?" Thex's response came in gentler pulses, almost hesitant. "Because you alone have shown true understanding. You see our light patterns not as mere data, but as what they are, expressions of consciousness, of self. The others study us. You communicate with us." Before Raina could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights cast harsh shadows across the chamber. Julian's voice echoed through the corridors. "Unknown energy signature detected approaching lunar orbit. All personnel to emergency stations." Dominic moved to escort Raina out, but she held up a hand, her attention fixed on Thex. The alien's body had become a cascade of urgent patterns she'd never seen before. The translation matrix struggled to keep up. "They are here sooner than we predicted. The Star Shapers have noticed our presence. Your world is in danger, Researcher Patel. And you are now part of a conflict older than your species." Through the chaos of flashing alerts and shouted orders, Raina made a decision that would alter the course of 2 civilizations. She pressed her palm against the chamber surface, matching it to Thex's luminescent appendage on the other side. The translator wouldn't be necessary for what she needed to say next. She spoke slowly, clearly, knowing Thex had learned to read human expressions. "Then we face it together. Teach me everything you know about these Star Shapers. And in return, I'll show you humanity's greatest strength, our refusal to submit to any force that threatens our existence." As if in response to her words, the station trembled under the influence of an unseen force. Through the observatory windows, strange lights began to dance among the stars, not unlike Thex's patterns, but cold and alien in their geometry. The first contact humanity had prepared for was about to become a first stand against an ancient cosmic threat. But in that moment, as Reyna's eyes met Thex's shifting form, something else was born. An understanding that transcended species, a connection that would prove crucial in the days to come. For in their shared determination to protect their peoples, they had forged something neither had expected to find in the cold expanse of space: trust. Breaking barriers. The emergency council meeting erupted into chaos as holographic representations of Earth's military leaders argued over the sensor data. Admiral Hassan paced before the projection of the strange objects now orbiting Jupiter, his weathered face illuminated by the eerie light of the unknown vessels. The Lumini knew about this threat and chose to withhold critical information. He declared, turning to face Reyna. "How can we trust them now?" Reyna stood her ground, though her hands trembled slightly behind her back. "They're sharing everything they know now. Vex has been working with me around the clock to decode their historical records of the Star Shapers." "And what exactly have you learned, Dr. Patel?" Director Novak's hologram flickered as she leaned forward, her cybernetic eye whirring as it focused. "The Star Shapers are ancient," Reyna explained, bringing up her latest translations. "They don't view younger species as life forms, but as temporary phenomena to be cleared away when they require a star's energy. They've done this countless times, adjusting solar output until developing civilizations wither away." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had dreamed of first contact, but not like this, not with the discovery that they were simply in the way of something vast and incomprehensible. In the containment chamber after the meeting, Thex's patterns shifted in what Reyna had come to recognize as distress. "Your leaders doubt us. They believe we brought this danger to your world." "They're scared," Reyna replied, adjusting the neural interface to better capture the subtle variations in Thex's bioluminescence. "Humans often react to fear with suspicion, as do the Lumini." Thex's lights pulsed softly. "That is why we hid for so long. But hiding did not save us before, and it will not save either of our peoples now." Over the next weeks, as the Star Shapers' vessels moved closer to Earth's orbit, Reyna and Thex worked to combine their species' knowledge. The Lumini understood the Star Shapers' patterns of behavior, while humans possessed technologies the Lumini had never developed in their aquatic civilization. But it wasn't just knowledge they were sharing. During their long sessions together, Reyna found herself mesmerized by the way Thex's thoughts manifested as dancing lights beneath their translucent surface. She began to recognize patterns that the translation matrix missed, subtle variations that conveyed not just meaning, but emotion. One night, as they reviewed historical data, Thex's lights shifted to a pattern she'd never seen before, soft waves of rose and gold that made her catch her breath. "The matrix can't translate that sequence," she said quietly. "Some patterns are not meant for translation," Thex responded, their form seeming to pulse in rhythm with Reyna's heartbeat. "They are meant to be felt." The moment was interrupted by Julian's urgent announcement. "Multiple anomalies detected in solar output. The Star Shapers have begun their work." Reyna rushed to the observatory, Thex's chamber following on its mobile platform. Through the reinforced windows, they watched as the sun's surface erupted in patterns that defied natural physics. The Star Shapers were reaching out with invisible fingers to reshape humanity's home star. "We're running out of time," Reyna whispered. "Even if we evacuate Earth, there's nowhere in the solar system they won't eventually reach." Thex's response came in determined pulses of blue and silver. "Then perhaps we must show them something they have never seen before, two species standing as one. My people have discovered something in our studies of your human music and art. Your ability to create patterns of your own, to shape energy not through technology, but through what you call culture. It resonates with our bioluminescence in ways we never thought possible." Reyna turned from the window, her mind racing with possibilities. Are you suggesting we could communicate with them? Not as separate species, but as something new. More than communicate, Thex's patterns intensified. We believe that together, we could match their power to shape energy with something they've never encountered. A harmony of light and sound, of science and art, of two forms of consciousness working in perfect synchronization. The idea was either brilliant or desperate, but as warning signals flashed across every console in the station, they had run out of alternatives. Reyna placed her hand against Thex's chamber, and their light patterns aligned with her neural interface in a way that made the air itself seem to hum with potential. Then let's give them a show they'll never forget, she said, already mentally composing the message they would need to send to both their peoples. It's time to break down every barrier between us, not just for survival, but for something greater than either of our species has achieved alone. The hidden truth. Deep within Europa's subsurface ocean, Reyna experienced true darkness for the first time. The pressurized transport pod descended through layers of ancient ice, its external lights illuminating crystalline formations that had never known natural sunlight. Inside her modified pressure suit, she tried to imagine how the Lumini had lived here for centuries, hidden from the very forces that now threatened Earth. The decision to journey to the Lumini homeworld had been controversial. Many on the Lunar Council had opposed it, seeing it as a waste of precious time, while the Star Shapers continued their ominous work. But Thex had insisted. The key to their survival lay in the deepest archives of their civilization. Our ancestors left records. Thex's patterns rippled through the liquid environment, not just of the Star Shapers, but of others who stood against them. The Lumini city appeared out of the darkness like a dream, a vast network of bioluminescent structures that pulsed with life. Thousands of Thex's people moved through the water in intricate patterns, their lights combining into what Reyna now recognized as a symphony of communication. "It's beautiful," she whispered, though only Thex could hear her through their private channel. The aliens' response came in warm waves of amber light that made her smile despite their dire circumstances. The archive chamber was unlike anything Reyna had imagined. Instead of data servers or written records, the walls themselves were alive, colonies of specialized organisms that stored information in their very DNA, passed down through countless generations. As Thex interfaced with them, the chamber erupted in cascading patterns of light that the neural interface struggled to translate. There, Thex's patterns suddenly sharpened with excitement. The truth our ancestors hid from us, waiting for the day we would need it most. The story that emerged from the living archives changed everything they thought they knew. The Star Shapers hadn't always been destroyers. Eons ago, they had been nurturers, helping young civilizations harness the power of their suns. But something had corrupted them, a fundamental shift in their consciousness that turned their gift into a curse. Look at this pattern. Reyna pointed to a recurring sequence in the data. It's almost like a virus, something that infected their way of thinking. Yes, Thex's lights pulsed rapidly. And the records show that some Star Shapers resisted the corruption. They worked with other species to find a cure, but were ultimately forced into hiding. A memory flashed in Reyna's mind. The strange resonance they had discovered between human music and Lumini bioluminescence, the harmony we found. It's not just a way to communicate with them, is it? It's the cure they were working on. Before Thex could respond, an alarm pierced through their connection. Julian's voice reached them across the vast distance. "Dr. Patel, we're detecting massive solar fluctuations. The Star Shapers have accelerated their timeline." Through her neural interface, Reyna accessed the feed from Earth's solar observatories. The sun's surface was writhing with unnatural patterns, its output already beginning to shift in ways that would soon make Earth uninhabitable. But as she watched the Star Shapers at work, she noticed something she had missed before. Their energy patterns weren't uniform. Some of the vessels seemed to move almost hesitantly, their influences on the sun slightly out of sync with the others. "They're still fighting it," she realized aloud. "After all this time, some of them are still resisting the corruption." Thex's patterns shifted to match her excitement. Then perhaps we are not too late. The combination of your music and our light. It was never about defeating them. It's about healing them. But as they prepared to return to the lunar station, a new complication arose. The living archives revealed one final truth. The attempted cure had failed before because it required a price neither species had been willing to pay. The resonance between human music and Lumini light could only reach its full potential through complete synchronization, a merging of consciousness that would irreversibly change both participants. Reyna looked at Thex, understanding flowing between them without need for translation. If we do this, we won't be the same afterward. Neither of us will. No, Thex's patterns softened to a gentle glow. We will be something new, something neither of our peoples has seen before. Are you afraid? Through the neural interface, Reyna let her own emotions manifest as patterns of light, matching Thex's rhythm. Yes, she admitted, but not of changing. I'm afraid of not trying, of watching both our worlds fade away, because we weren't brave enough to become something more. As they ascended through Europa's ice, leaving the ancient archive behind, both knew they were carrying more than just information. They were carrying hope, not just for survival, but for transformation. The Star Shapers had lost their way by forgetting the power of connection, of growth, of love itself. Now, racing against time to save two worlds, Reyna and Thex would have to remind them. But first, they would have to convince their own peoples to embrace a change that would reshape the very meaning of consciousness itself. The hidden truth was both a gift and a challenge. Survival meant evolution, and evolution meant letting go of everything they thought they were. Sacrifice and choice. The lunar research station hummed with frantic energy as engineers worked to modify the primary transmission array. Earth hung in the viewport like a jewel, its atmosphere already showing signs of the Star Shapers' influence. Subtle auroras danced where there should have been none, and weather patterns had begun to shift in impossible ways. Reyna stood before the assembled council, her neural interface projecting the simulation of what she and Thex proposed. The synchronization chamber is ready, she explained, her voice steady despite her racing heart. When our consciousness merge, the combined resonance will be powerful enough to reach the Star Shapers. Admiral Hassan's hologram flickered as he leaned forward. And you're certain this will work? You're asking us to stake humanity's survival on an untested theory about curing ancient aliens through what? Music and light shows. Not just music and light. Thex's patterns rippled through their containment chamber. The merger of two distinct forms of consciousness, creating a harmony that could remind them of what they once were. Director Novik's cybernetic eye whirred as she analyzed the data. The energy requirements are astronomical. We'd have to divert power from every lunar facility. If it fails, we'll be defenseless. We're already defenseless, Reyna countered. Look at the solar readings. At the current rate of stellar manipulation, Earth will be uninhabitable within months. The Lumini have already begun evacuating their cities on Europa. We're out of options. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the reality of their situation left no room for hesitation. As the council finally gave their approval, Dominic Reed approached Reyna outside the chamber. I've been assigned to oversee security for the procedure, he said, his usual stern expression softened by concern. Are you sure about this? The simulations show the consciousness merger might be permanent. Reyna watched Thex's chamber being connected to the newly constructed synchronization apparatus. I've never been more sure of anything, she replied. Besides, permanence doesn't frighten me anymore. What scares me is the thought of staying unchanged in a dying world. The preparation process was painstaking. Engineers modified Reyna's neural interface to handle the massive data flow that would come with merging with the Lumini consciousness. Thex's containment chamber was integrated into a larger system that would amplify their combined resonance patterns. As the final checks were completed, Reyna took a moment to send a message to her family on Earth. I don't know if I'll still be me after this, she recorded, watching the distant figure of her home planet through the viewport. But everything I'm doing for love, not just for one person or one species, but for all of us who look up at the stars and dream of something more. The synchronization chamber was a marvel of human and Lumini technology. Rhaina's pod was suspended in a liquid environment, matching the composition of Thex's chamber, their containers separated only by a membrane designed to dissolve during the merger process. Neural interface online, Julian announced. Quantum resonance field stable, ready to begin on your mark. Through the translucent barrier, Rhaina could see Thex's form pulsing with patterns she had come to know as intimately as her own heartbeat. Their private channel opened one last time. "Are you afraid?" Thex asked, echoing their conversation in the archives. "Not anymore," Rhaina replied. "Whatever we become, we face it together." The membrane began to dissolve as the chamber filled with harmonics designed to bridge the gap between human brainwaves and Lumini light patterns. Rhaina felt the first touch of Thex's consciousness against her own, not through the neural interface this time, but directly, like two oceans meeting at last. The sensation was overwhelming. Memories flowed between them. Rhaina's childhood dreams of the stars, Thex's first glimpse of sunlight through Europa's ice, their shared wonder at discovering each other's worlds. But it went deeper than memories. Their very ways of perceiving reality began to merge and transform. Rhaina experienced light as thought, while Thex felt emotion as music. Their separate understandings of the universe collapsed and reformed into something entirely new. Through their combined awareness, they could sense the star-shapers more clearly than ever, ancient lonely beings who had forgotten the very thing they had once nurtured, the power of connection. As their consciousness fully merged, Rhaina/Thex reached out across space with their newfound resonance. Their combined signal carried more than information. It carried the experience of their transformation, the proof that separate forms of consciousness could join to become something greater than their parts. The Starshapers' vessels responded, their energy patterns shifting as the signal reached them. But whether this response meant salvation or destruction, neither Rhaina nor Thex could tell. They were too far gone in their merger, becoming something that had never existed before. A bridge between species, between ways of being, between all the separate lights that longed to shine as one. Beyond the stars, the first sign that something had changed came as a ripple through space itself. The Starshapers' vessels, which had been methodically altering the sun's output, froze in their celestial dance. Through the merged consciousness that had once been Rhaina and Thex, a new awareness bloomed. They could feel the ancient beings' response to their harmony. On the lunar station's monitors, the sun's surface began to stabilize. Director Novak's cybernetic eye tracked the readings with disbelief. "The stellar manipulation is stopping," she announced to the tense chamber. "They're listening." Within the synchronization chamber, the entity that was neither fully human nor Lumini reached out with their combined understanding. They touched minds with the Starshapers, not as separate species trying to communicate, but as a living bridge between different forms of consciousness. Through this connection, they shared not just information but experience. The joy of discovery when Rhaina first decoded the Lumini language, the wonder Thex felt at hearing human music, the moment they realized their differences made them stronger together. Each memory carried the cure the Starshapers had lost eons ago. The truth that diversity breeds resilience, that separation is an illusion, that the universe thrives on connection. The Starshapers' response came not in words or light patterns, but in a fundamental shift in the fabric of space-time around them. Their vessels began to move in new configurations, no longer working to alter the sun but to heal the damage they had caused. More than that, they were changing themselves, remembering their original purpose as nurturers of young civilizations. Admiral Hassan watched in awe as the solar readings returned to normal. "They're not just stopping," he realized. "They're teaching us. Look at the energy patterns. They're showing us how to work with stellar forces safely." But in the synchronization chamber, a more personal transformation was still unfolding. The merger of Reyna and Thex had created something unprecedented, a consciousness that could perceive reality through both human and Lumini senses simultaneously. They experienced emotions as colors, thoughts as music, and time itself as a dance of light and shadow. Through their expanded awareness, they made a discovery that changed everything. The Starshapers hadn't been corrupted by a virus or external force. They had been corrupted by isolation, by forgetting that consciousness itself is meant to grow through connection. Their power to shape stars had become destructive only when they forgot the very thing that had made them nurturers, the ability to forge bonds between different forms of life. As the Starshapers completed their work of restoration, a new challenge emerged. The combined being in the synchronization chamber had to decide whether to attempt separation or remain in their merged state. They could feel both their peoples watching, waiting to see what this unprecedented union would choose. Through their neural link to the station's systems, they shared their thoughts. We are neither what we were nor what anyone expected us to become. We are something new, a prototype for what might be possible when barriers between consciousness dissolve. We choose to remain as we are, not as a sacrifice, but as an explorer of what lies beyond individual existence. The decision sent ripples through both human and Lumini society. Some feared it marked the end of both species' separate identities. Others saw it as the beginning of a new kind of evolution. The Starshapers, restored to their original nature as nurturers, recognized in this choice the very principle that had saved them, that growth comes through union, not isolation. In the years that followed, the being that had been Reyna and Thex became a bridge not just between humans and Lumini, but between all species encountering each other in the vast expanse of space. They helped establish protocols for consciousness sharing that allowed different species to truly understand each other while maintaining their unique identities. Under the Starshapers' renewed guidance, humanity and the Lumini learned to work with stellar energies in ways that enhanced rather than destroyed. The Lunar Research Station transformed into an interstellar diplomatic center, its chambers filled with beings from across the galaxy seeking to learn the art of consciousness bridging. The observation deck where Reyna had first seen the Starshapers became a meditation space where individuals could experience temporary consciousness merging, learning to see the universe through other beings' perceptions. And in quiet moments, when Earth's light reflected off the lunar surface and Europa glowed in Jupiter's shadow, the merged consciousness that had once been two separate beings would pulse with patterns of light that translated into both music and color. They had discovered that love itself was a form of consciousness bridging, the ultimate harmony that could transform not just individuals but entire civilizations. Their universe was vast indeed, but its true vastness lay not in physical space, but in the infinite possibilities that arose when different forms of consciousness learned to dance together in the light of shared understanding.